exchange their crayon drawing of what God is like for what God is really like, because he's pretty amazing. So we're going to watch a 3-minute video. This ties in great with Revelation chapter 12, the first few verses. So here we go, and play.
Hello and welcome. Today I want to briefly discuss with you a very important topic in which the sun, the moon, and the stars will align with perfection to fulfill a 2,000-year-old prophecy. Perfection only found from the creator of heaven and earth. This prophecy was written down in the book of Revelation, the last book in the Holy Bible, directly from Jesus. This book was given to us so that we would know the time of the end, what to expect, and to know what would happen. Let's read Revelation 12 together. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. So what we see written here is the constellation Virgo, which is known as the woman, who is clothed with the sun. That means the sun is currently in the constellation Virgo. The moon is under her feet, and above her head is a crown of 12 stars. And Jupiter enters her belly, stays there for 9 months, and exits, showing a birth. So in this very descriptive passage, we see all phases, the sun, the moon, and the stars, all coming together to form a picture of a birth. And again, lastly, the 9 stars from Leo, always above her head, plus the 3 wandering stars align perfectly for the crown. God himself spoke through the prophet Daniel and said these things would be sealed up until the time of the end, as in nobody would really understand until the end came. Thanks to technology, we have a program called Stellarium. It allows us to go forward and backward in time and see how the stars align. Because as they have seen, every star, every planet known as a wandering star follows a mathematical equation. This alignment has never happened. In the beginning, in the book of Genesis, God himself says the sun, the moon, and the stars will be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. This prophecy is no exception. What's also really interesting is when Jesus was telling his apostles of when he will return, he himself said that there would be signs in the sun and the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, as in much trouble going on, as we see now. Hopefully by now you see that this topic is worthy of your time for further investigation. This is something that you can see with your very own eyes and confirms that the Bible is true. If you haven't done so, please seek Jesus Christ today, as time may be running out. God bless, and please share this with everyone you know.
Sites that you can go to, that you can look at this if you want to. What does this mean, Pastor Mike? What does this mean? I just think it's kind of interesting that something that was written about 2,000 years ago just so happens to be playing itself out in the heavens this Saturday. And we're having a worship night. Now look, does this mean the church will be raptured Saturday? I'm not saying that. I'm planning on I'm going to study ahead for next Sunday's message. But if there is a rapture, I won't be here for next Sunday's message, okay? Just so you know, I'm not going to be here for that. But God is the one who put all of that in motion. And God can do whatever he wants to do, and he can show us things. And I think one of the things, and I've shared this before, is because the Bible says no man knows the day or the hour, we use that as an excuse to not pay attention to the seasons. But the same one who said no man knows the day or hour also said you can know the seasons. You can know what's coming by signs and things like that. So I'm not saying anything other than I want you to go and look at this and see what you think about Revelation chapter 12. Does that match up with what we see there in astronomy? Not astrology, but astronomy, okay, which is the study of the stars, which God happened to be the one who put them all into orbit. All right, but let us talk about what is our message today. And that is Revelation chapter 11, last week, 11:15. Then the seventh angel sounded, and there were loud voices in heaven saying, "The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of our Christ, and he will reign forever and ever." The very things that we were just singing about. Who can stop the Lord Almighty? You know, our God he is the one who will finally step forward. You can look at Revelation in different ways. You can look at Revelation as the story of the end of man. You can look at Revelation as the story of the end of Satan, or you can look at the Revelation as the story of God, and he gets to the point where he says, okay, it's time to take back over. I think the whole Bible is basically a book about God, and other things can be inferred from it, like man, but I think the Bible is God's story. It's not my story. It's God's story. And how do I relate to that? And how do other people relate to that? So that's just our launching off point. So we've had the 7 seals broken. When we get to that 7th seal, then we get the 7 trumpets. Now we're down to that last trumpet, the 3rd woe. Remember, there were 3 woes, and the first 2 woes were not very good. So the 3rd woe is going to be really, really bad. Well, now that trumpet has blown, and this is going to lead us into now 7 vials, 7 bowls, and it's only going to get worse. I believe this is happening right at the 3.5-year period. It's when things are going to go from peaceful coexistence with the Antichrist to warlike existence with the Antichrist. So let's go on, and we're going to be in Revelation chapter 12 and verse 1 and 2. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And she was with child, and she cried out, being in labor and in pain to give birth. Okay, so we have several characters we're going to look at here. Now, how many of y'all know I know exactly what Revelation means? Yeah, no, I don't. I'm going to tell you what I think it means through study and through the Holy Spirit and just through my own weird sense of whatever. If it disagrees with you, that's fine. Let me tell you what the Holy Spirit was saying to me today. Revelation is about the division of the saved and the lost, God and Satan. Revelation is not supposed to be about the division of the church. I'm this, you're that. We can't get together and worship. If you disagree with something I say, that's awesome. You can still come to Steve's house and have steak with me. I will love you, and that's okay. Look, there are a lot of different. I believe in every right interpretation, there may be wrong applications, or you might have a right application of a wrong interpretation. And that's fine. But what it's not supposed to ever do is drive a wedge in the body of Christ. Because when we get to heaven and we're all looking at each other going, man, I got that wrong. You got it right. And you go, yeah, but I got this other stuff wrong. And you got it right. So it's all cool. So I know that it's not supposed to be a division thing in the church. So let's look at this. Who is the woman? Well, some of our friends will say, well, the woman obviously is Mary, because Mary was the one who gave birth to Jesus. So this is just a reenactment in the stars and in this prophetic way. This is a reenactment of what's going on. Okay? Well, I don't think that it's Mary. Some people say, well, it is the modern church. Okay? But the modern church did not birth Jesus. Jesus birthed the modern church. So if we look a little bit farther, what my thing is, I come up with that it is the nation of Israel. In Genesis 37:9, Joseph the dreamer, and so you're not supposed to dream. You're such a dreamer. Yeah, Joseph was a dreamer. He ended up running Egypt. It's okay to be a dreamer. Joseph has a dream, and he tells his brother. And then he has another dream. Well, this dream, when he talks about that the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars are going to bow down and worship my star. Okay, well, at least his dad, Jacob, who is going to become Israel, he was slightly offended because he thought, so me and your mom and all your brothers are going to bow down to you? Who do you think you are? Turns out it was actually what happened, okay? So if you look at that, what Jacob and Israel said about himself, he was the sun, his wife was the moon, and all 12 of his children then would have been those stars. So I think it's easy for me to believe that this is the chosen people, the nation of Israel. We know that Jesus, the Messiah, came out of the nation of Israel. Okay, so however you want to look at this, I think it's kind of looking back more than anything. But so Jesus has come out of this woman, and the woman is the children of Israel. If you believe it's any of those other things, we can talk later. It's okay. I still love you, and we can still eat steak together. Psalm 2, 7 through 9 says this. I will surely tell of the decree of the Lord. He said to me, you are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will surely give the nations as your inheritance, as the very ends of the earth as you possess. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall shatter them with earthenware. Well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, it has to do with who is coming out of the woman. If we go back to Revelation chapter 12, verse 1 and 2, a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And she was with child. She cried out, being in labor of pain. Then we go on to see who exactly is this child. And so we're going to go down to, when we get to later on, we'll see where it says that the one that comes out is the one with the iron rod. Okay, I don't think we all any question about that the child that's coming out of the mother is Jesus. So back to verse 3. There we go. Okay. Revelations 2:27 also references that Jesus has the rod of iron. Okay. Verse 3 and 4 of chapter 12 of Revelation. Then another sign appeared in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his head were 7 diadems. And his tail swept away a third of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she gave birth, he might devour her child. Now, verse 9 tells us plainly that this red dragon is Satan. It just says, okay, this is Satan, this is the devil, this is the deceiver. So we're going to get to that. So I don't think there's any question about the dragon, but when we see that he has a third of the stars, well, remember, stars a lot of times can represent the pastors of churches or the angels, or it can represent angels. When Lucifer, who was the worship leader in heaven, is thrown out of heaven, and he took a third of the angels with him. Again, some of this is new information. Some of this is reviewing old information, I think, from what Jesus is telling John to write down to give to us. But to me, it makes sense that the red dragon is indeed Satan, that a third of the stars that have come with him are those demonic beings, those angelic beings. And we know that there are a lot of different classifications of angels, and they have different jobs, and they have different looks, and all that. And sometimes we're so afraid, well, we don't want to get over into angel worship or anything like that, so let's just pretend they don't exist. Well, God created them. Everything God created is worth studying. Everything that God created is worth going, wow, that's really awesome. Just like Jupiter going back and forth for 9 months. I just think that's amazing. God, how do you do that? Do you like every 3 days, do you walk and go, okay, push it back up here. Okay, push it back up here. I don't know how God does all this stuff, but it's amazing. And I know that there are angels that are assigned to you and me. How many of y'all know there's an angel who has kept you out of some stuff? He's like, how did I not just get creamed by that thing? Well, your angel's going, dude, would you be more careful there, There are angelic beings. Now, we don't worship them, we don't pray to them, absolutely, but they are helpers to God. Now, if I send somebody, if I send Herb out on a job, I'm sending Herb to go get a truckload of something, and I say, now, Herb, when you get there, there's going to be a guy on the loading dock who's going to help you. So should Herb go and go, well, I'm not allowed to talk to you because you're not the boss and you're not the one who sent me here? I'm not saying we should spend time communicating with our angels, or I'm not saying that at all. But understand that there are really angels. And some of those angels have gone with Satan out of heaven, and they are the ones who work so hard against us. Is there anybody here but me who's ever had some thought come in your mind and you go, oh, where did that thought come from? I'll tell you where it came from. It came from the pits of hell. He tries to trip us up by putting things in our mind to make us feel guilt and shame, and I can't go to God because just look what I just thought. And God's going, yeah, but that wasn't your thought. That didn't originate in your head. You haven't even seen anything that would make that come into your head. That is from the enemy. And they can do things like that. They can speak to us, and they can speak to things that are going on. I'm excited about this. I'm glad I'm excited about this.